I almost killed my snake plant by being too nice to it. 4 years ago, I bought a snake plant from a grocery store because the little plastic tag said impossible to kill. I named her Helen. Whether you have a Laurenti with the yellow edges, a moonshine, or a compact honey like Helen was, the houseplant care approach that almost killed mine is probably the same mistake you're making. I gave Helen a sunny spot by the window. I watered her every Sunday like clockwork. I talked to her. I rotated her pot a quarter turn each week so she'd grow evenly. By month 3, Helen was yellow, soft, and leaning to one side like she'd been drinking. The roots, when I finally pulled her out, looked like wet noodles. The grocery store tag had lied. Or I had. Or maybe Helen and I just had a misunderstanding about what kind of life she wanted. Here's what I didn't know then. The plant I was trying so hard to keep alive was, by snake plant standards, in a witness protection program. And once you understand what she would have been doing in the wild, the way most of us treat our snake plants starts to look a little strange. Let me explain. The snake plant you have on your shelf, assuming it's the common one, the one with the tall green and yellow striped leaves, is a species called Dracaena trifasciata until 2017. It was called Sansevieria trifasciata, but botanist David Mabberley published the reclassification in Mabberley's plant book looking at the DNA and saying, no, actually, this plant is a Dracaena, and the whole genus got folded in. Your plant got a new last name and didn't even get a card in the mail. Its native range is West and Central Africa, places like Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Madagascar. Hot, dry, sometimes brutally so, rocky soil, long stretches without rain, temperatures ranging from 70 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit with humidity that can drop below 30%. In that environment, a wild Dracaena trifasciata can grow about 12 feet tall. 12 feet! The plant on your shelf, the one you've named something cute, is a stunted version of a plant that, in its natural habitat, would tower over you. It wouldn't be sitting in a 6-inch terracotta pot. It would be one of dozens, growing in a colony, leaves like green swords coming up out of the ground in clumps that spread across whole hillsides. And here's the part nobody tells you when you buy one. In the wild, it flowers every single year. Greenish-white tubular blooms on a long stalk that shoots up from the center of the rosette. They open at night. They smell strongly. Some people describe it as jasmine. Others say it's closer to lily. Others say it's just sweet in a way that gets into the back of your throat. The smell is doing a job. It's calling moths, specifically long-tongued hawk moths, which are the only pollinators that can reach down into the narrow flower tubes. The plant produces nectar. The moths drink it. Pollen sticks to them. They fly to another snake plant. The cycle continues. It's an arrangement that's been working for, conservatively, several million years. If pollination succeeds, the flowers turn into orange berries. Yes, your snake plant in the wild makes orange berries. They're small, about the size of a pea, and inside each one are seeds. Birds eat the berries. The seeds get carried somewhere else. New colonies start. None of this happens in your living room. Indoor snake plants flower, on average, once every several years, if they flower at all. Most never do. The moth that evolved alongside it doesn't live in Ohio. There are no berries. There are no seeds. The plant has for all practical purposes, been cut off from its entire life cycle. It still tries, though. There's a thing snake plants do at night that almost no one mentions. They breathe. Most plants open their stomata, the tiny pores on their leaves, during the day to take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Snake plants don't. They use something called CAM photosynthesis, which stands for crassulation acid metabolism. They keep their stomata closed during the heat of the day to conserve water, then open them at night to take in carbon dioxide, store it as malic acid, and use it the next morning when the sun comes back. This is desert technology. Cacti do it, pineapples do it, almost no other common houseplant does. While you're asleep, your snake plant is doing the bulk of its breathing, slowly releasing a little oxygen into your bedroom, running on a schedule that hasn't changed since long before there were bedrooms. There's a quieter fact buried in this. The reason your snake plant survives your neglect, the reason it'll go 3 months without water, the reason it doesn't die when you forget about it is because it's a desert plant that has spent millions of years learning how to wait. When you rescue it from a busy week by giving it a deep, generous watering, you are, from the plant's perspective, recreating a flash flood in the Sahel. It can handle that because it's been handling that since before our species existed. What it can't handle is constant moisture. Constant moisture causes root rot and is what kills it. I killed Helen by treating her like she was delicate. She wasn't delicate. She was a survivor, and I was drowning her. This is the part where I want you to do something. Go look at your snake plant. Right now. Pause the video if you have to. Look at it. What you're looking at is biologically a clipping. Almost every indoor snake plant in the world is a clone. They're propagated from leaf cuttings or rhizome divisions, not from seed. That means the plant in your house is genetically almost identical to plants growing in apartments in Tokyo, Berlin, Cairo, and Sao Paulo. There's a real possibility, and I find this genuinely strange to think about, that your snake plant shares an unbroken chain of clones with one wild ancestor somewhere in West Africa decades ago that someone cut a leaf from and brought home. Every snake plant since has been a piece of that original. They don't reproduce in our homes. They get passed around. They are, in a real sense, refugees from a continent most of them have never seen, surviving by being useful enough to keep. Useful for what, exactly? For a long time, the answer was cleaning your air. This came from a NASA study in 1989, the Clean Air Study, that found certain houseplants, snake plants included, could remove benzene, formaldehyde, and trichloroethylene from sealed chambers. The study became famous. It got cited in every best plants for your bedroom article for the next 30 years. What didn't get cited as often was a follow-up review in 2019, published in the Journal of Exposure Science and Environmental Epidemiology and led by researchers at Drexel University, named Brian Cummings and Michael Waring, who looked at the actual math. Their finding, you would need somewhere around 1,000 snake plants in an average room to match the air cleaning effect of simply opening a window. The original study used sealed chambers the size of a microwave. Your living room is not a microwave. The snake plant is not really cleaning your air. It's doing something else, something we've mostly forgotten to ask about. It's existing. It's the last representative in your home of an entire wild ecosystem. The moth pollinators, the rocky African soil, the long dry seasons, the orange berries, the 12-foot mature plants, none of that traveled with it. but the plant itself did. The biology is intact. The CAM photosynthesis still runs at night. The leaves still store water the way they would in a drought. The rhizomes still try to spread. If you put a wild Dracaena trifasciata next to yours in a lab, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart genetically. The difference is just that one of them is allowed to grow up. The kindest thing you can do for a snake plant, it turns out, is to mostly leave it alone. Water it when the soil is fully dry, and I mean fully, finger test 3 inches down dry, which typically means every 2 to 6 weeks depending on your home's conditions. Give it light, but don't obsess over the direction. Don't repot it constantly. They like being slightly root-bound. Don't fertilize it much. Don't talk to it unless you want to, in which case talk to it, but understand it doesn't care. One important note for indoor gardening. Snake plants contain saponins, which make them mildly toxic to cats and dogs if ingested, so keep them out of reach of curious pets. The plant has spent a few million years getting good at being ignored. Your job is mostly to not interrupt it. Helen came back, eventually. I let her dry out for nearly 2 months. I trimmed the soft parts. I moved her to a smaller pot with grittier soil. She stopped leaning. She put out a new leaf that summer, pale green at first, then darkening into the same striped pattern as the others. She didn't flower. She didn't make any berries. There were no moths in my kitchen calling to her at night. But she lived, and she's still living, 4 years later, on the shelf above my desk, doing whatever it is she does while I'm asleep, opening her pores, breathing in the dark, running on a schedule that has nothing to do with me. I think about that sometimes. When I water her, she doesn't need me. She's just letting me watch.